Welcome to Beyond the Build, the podcast where we talk with agency leaders about the work behind the work, how teams evolve, how leaders navigate change, and what it really takes to build something that lasts. I'm Shawn Johnston. My guest today is Ashleigh Baron, founder and CEO of Freshly Pressed, a growth marketing agency she started 17 years ago in her basement in Alberta with an 8-month-old baby and a non-negotiable commitment to building a business around her life, not the other way around. Freshly Pressed serves clients in B2B tech, agriculture, education, and has grown almost entirely on reputation. Ashleigh also runs the Big Heart Grant program, providing pro bono brand and web work to nonprofits in her community. Ashleigh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Shawn. That was my entire intro of what I was going to say. So I guess I will just say, hi, I'm Ashleigh. I'm really excited to be on the show. Along with all those other things too, I'm really, really committed to mindset. I love neuroscience. And I also have a side hustle where I bring women together and create community for them. It's called Cinderella's Social Club, and it's a dance party, and it's an early dance party. And so that's also something that is important to me as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's not enough community building.
No, there really isn't.
Yeah.
And we've only been doing it a year, and it's just been fascinating to watch. And everybody leaves so happy, so enlightened, and so excited to be there. So, and I really think, I'm biased, but I think women, especially women in middle age, deserve a space to come together and just remember who they are. So
yeah, I've noticed as I've emerged into late middle age, 50 this October, that on the other side of kids, I've lost community other than work.
Yeah.
And so I've joined a softball team.
Right.
There's a cold plunge group that I go out with. So you forget how much you need human connection. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think back to your 20s and how much human connection you had just because, it's hardwired into us in our 20s to connect, right?
Yeah.
And so we did it naturally. But yeah, that gap between when you're having kids and you're focused and you're just, I'm still in that, running a business, raising your children, super focused on all of those pieces. Sometimes you forget what you love and what you should be doing for yourself too.
Exactly. Especially as business owners, where it's just like, you're just grinding for everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
The actual main contributing factor to friendships is proximity. And so as we get older, that's just harder. That takes way more effort as our lives get more complicated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're just not spending as much time together. And if I think about the friends I do have, one is my next door neighbor, my closest friend. And a lot of the other ones came from like dance with my daughter, playgroup with my daughter, kids activities, like all those things, right? Because we were together and in it together.
It's proximity. And as business owners too, the people you're mostly around are employees. You can't, or you shouldn't, be friends with them like that.
Yeah, like there's a relationship you can build with your employees for sure, but there's always a line, right? And when you're the boss, it's a little lonely at the top sometimes for sure.
It sure is, yeah. Sometimes you just need a beer and a little bit and a few tears just to somebody who's going to listen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. You need like other agency owners or other people that have been through it. I actually have like our office space is a collective of women-owned businesses as well. And so it's really nice. There's 4 of us in here and then a couple people that drop in and out. And it's just really nice to be around these business owners. And when you're having a day, I know I can go up front and talk to Rachel, my Lisa beside me. And same thing, they come to me when they're having a day too. It's really nice to have that community. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Okay, so take me back to the beginning. You were bartending. You went to art school for sculpture. Like you somehow ended up running a marketing agency. Like how did that happen?
Oh my gosh, how did it happen? Well, I ended up in art school because I was doing pre-law and I took one extracurricular and it was an art class. And in high school, I got told I was terrible at art. So I dropped out.
Okay.
Touché. And so I took this one art class and I just enjoyed it. And I can still remember clearly every piece I made in that class and how much I loved it and how much like my heart just sung to me and how happy I was. And so I thought, what am I doing? I'm a pretty soft-hearted person and kindness is really important to me. And I was like, I think if I go become a lawyer, it's going to be soul killing for me. And I just don't think I'm going to be able to do it. And I'm either going to get stuck doing paperwork all day because I'm going to be terrible in the courtroom, like litigating would be terrible for me. And paperwork just didn't sound like a really sexy future, alluring future. It sounded like depression truly to me. So I switched to art school and I actually studied fine art and I majored in sculpture. And I did that so that it was more open and I could take media and digital technology courses. And it was a very open degree where you could really explore what you were really passionate about. And so then I got pregnant with my daughter and I decided to step away for a while and take care of my daughter, obviously go on maternity leave. And all the time had been bartending my way through school. And so after, about 8 months of being a stay-at-home mom, I just knew in my soul that like I loved my daughter with every fiber of my being. And something really special happens when you have kids. It like activates a part of your brain you didn't know was there. And I just felt like this fire inside me woke up and this purpose inside me woke up. And I had this tiny little human being that I was in the beginning terrified of, truly. It just was like, I have to take care of this baby. Oh my goodness. That settled, obviously, but it just created such purpose in me and such drive. And I knew I wanted to provide for her. I also knew that I didn't want to go work downtown Calgary and I didn't want to go work in an agency. I didn't want to commute. I didn't want my daughter to be in daycare at 6 a.m., picking her up at 6 p.m., never see her, never be there for her. And again, I could like foresee that what that would feel like. That would feel like burnout. That would feel like disconnection. And that just wouldn't sit well with me. And I wanted to take care of my daughter properly and give her the life that she deserved as well. Which for me, a life of abundance is great for children, but connection, present parenting, a parent that's not stressed out, just really, truly being there for her was really important to me. And so I still didn't really know what that looked like, but I knew that going and applying at agencies just wasn't in the cards for me. And so I started bartending at night. So 'cause obviously we've got to make a living, pay the rent, all those things, right? And I went back to the restaurant group I had worked with before. And that connection, that restaurant group, working in the restaurant industry was honestly something I was really hard on myself about at that point. I was like, you shouldn't be doing this. You should be further along. You should have a plan. But it was actually the catalyst to the agency. And without it, I don't think I would have started Freshly. And so we can be so hard on ourselves about where we're at in our life. But I actually have this firm belief now that I'm older and I have hindsight and I've been through a lot, that everything happens for a reason and you're exactly where you should be in the world. And so even though I was so judgmental to myself for going back to something that I didn't feel resonated, it actually is why I was able to start things. And so I also started working for my mom's company. And so she had an early childhood consulting company.
Okay.
And I was helping her out a couple days a week as well. And she saw something in me I didn't. And she just said, I need a website. You could build me a website, right? And I was like, well, sure, I can figure it out. Thinking inside, like, God, I have no idea. And so I built my very first website. I don't know. Some people will know this tool on iPages. And looking back, I built...
I haven't heard that one in a long time.
Right? I built probably the ugliest website that a developed, like not, maybe design. Yeah, design wasn't great either. It was very 1990s, but like the way I built it and put it together would just make you cringe. However, I did it and I figured it out. And once I started to realize like the actual like makeup and infrastructure of how a website was built, it blew me away. Truly, I was like, wow, there's so many decisions that go into building a website. Like I would say 10 to 20,000 decisions you don't even really think of once you're an expert.
Complicated process. That's
right.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of processing. And I was just like intrigued by that, really interested, knew I wanted to do more. And so kept supporting my mom with her business and her marketing while bartending. And then one night I was behind the bar and I was bartending and our restaurant group had an agency. And this agency was known for having every hospitality restaurant group, basically industry client in Calgary. Then they expanded to Edmonton. Then they started going Canada-wide. And it was just like, wow, that's a huge agency. And I was always sort of like inspired by that agency. And then the owner of the bar walked in one night while I was bartending. And when the bookkeeper, Callie, started talking to him, and he said to her, our agency went out of business overnight. And I was like, whoa, like, the tea is happening over here. So I'm bartending, but I'm like listening. And he's like, yeah, like they just shut their doors and they handed me this hard drive. And my gosh, I don't know what we're going to do. And Callie and I were friendly. And she goes, well, Ashleigh does that. And they both look at me. And I just remember like my stomach dropping, panic inside, cool exterior. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
Like, I can do that. I do that. Yeah, I do. And he's like, you do? And he was, and I was like, yes. Okay, great. Well, here's the hard drive. let's meet tomorrow. Come in, meet me here at the restaurant. We'll go through everything. And so inside, like just panicking, panic, but also so incredibly excited because I'm like, wow, this is an opportunity. And if I hadn't been there at that exact moment, I don't know if that would have happened.
No.
And while it was so heartbreaking, once I learned the story of the agency that went under, and I did actually get to meet the owner a few years ago, it was a really heartbreaking story. But it was also the catalyst of how I started my agency. So I was really grateful for that opportunity. And that's something I've learned over the years, to be so grateful for those blessings. And so essentially, like that's sort of the genesis and the spark and the trigger of how the agency started. And I just started working for the restaurant groups. They had 4 at the time. And then all the other liquor reps that would do cooperative marketing with them started noticing my work. They started contracting me as well. And then BoCycle, I don't know if you know BoCycle. It was a big Calgary power sports name, and it's since been closed down, but they noticed my work. And so they called me. And so just through word of mouth and referrals and a commitment to like really high quality work is how it grew from there, basically. So that's how it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed talking to you because we have very similar kind of hustle story.
Yeah.
With very similar reasons. Like I was working a corporate job that was sucking the life out of me. And I had, when my son was born, so my second, I was getting farther and farther away from design, which was what I wanted to do. So, and there was a mental switch where I realized that work was the break and home was the job. And so, I just started thinking of some ways that I kind of left corporate without much of a plan. I just needed somewhere to recover. And then, I taught myself how to code, started doing some free works for some people because I was like, I just need stuff to fiddle with.
Yeah.
And it turns into a coexist hustle, which turned into more work than I could handle by myself. And 14 years later, it's an agency.
Yeah.
It's funny how it works sometimes. And similar to you, I've never had a salesperson. I've never had a super expensive ad campaign. It's just been organic reputation and a lot of hustle.
Yeah.
And good work.
Yeah, it's the good work really that I think is the heart of it all and why it's continued to grow. Because when you take care of your clients and you commit to really high quality work, they remember that and they naturally just share that. They become an ambassador for you and they naturally tell their network about you. And you can do all of the expensive digital ads marketing funnels that you want, but that third-party endorsement is the most powerful marketing. And so
you can't buy it. Yeah.
No. Yeah. You can only work really hard. It's blood, sweat, and tears, truly. Just taking care of my clients. Don't make me cry. Let me just clarify. But no, it's just that commitment to like really hard work and exceptional work and creative work and just standing out in the market and always innovating. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a thing that I always say in the agency, particularly when you're dealing with clients that are not being the easiest, is that I always say that clients don't remember how projects start; they only remember how they end. Yeah. So you can't let up. That last 20%, that's make or break.
Yeah, the QA.
And then one of the cardinal rules that we have is always 100% of the time take the high road. Well, you will always regret jumping in the trenches with people, but you'll never regret taking it on the chin and just doing the right thing. You'd be surprised how many relationships in that final 20% that get a little bit contentious because clients are just folk who are having their own stresses and pressures. Like that's what I try to, like, we're not their counselors, but we don't have to add to it. No. So just have a little compassion. And then, on the other side of it, you can tell they realize sometimes that they were not great and are appreciative that you didn't.
Yeah. Cortisol's high. They're up here. Everything's scary. They get stuck in that downstairs brain, right? And then they come across the other side and it's like a big sigh of relief. And it's like they can see, look back in hindsight and say, no, actually. And so when you can, like, that's your moment to shine, I think, truly. When things get difficult and you can meet that with kindness and calm, that's your moment to actually earn more respect from them. And so if you meet them at the level of stress and overwhelm that they're at, that's where you lose respect. And so when you can guide them through something that for them is really unfamiliar, and that's the thing I always try to remember is that for me, this is second nature. For them, this is totally new.
Well,
And
this
it's
is hard.
really,
Yeah, this is hard stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And it's why they hired us, because they want an expert to guide them through this. And so we have to remember, like, we've got to stay super calm and Zen-like for them, because we can actually bring them back to that place too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been really clear from the beginning that you built a business around your life, not the other way around. Like, what does that look like day to day? Like, how do you do that?
Okay, well, I have this thing I ask my team to do, and it's called our crystal calendar. And I actually learned this about 4 years into the business when my to-do list was like 5 pages long and it was paper and complete place of overwhelm. And I've had many really great mentors over the years, and one of them is my mom. And so I sat down with her and she was like, are you quantifying your work? Are you looking at your work and understanding how much time it's going to take you to make that happen, booking it into your calendar and then communicating that back to your client? And I said, what do you mean? Like, no, I'm just an art student designer. I'm just doing my thing and all this abundance is coming in, but like now I'm drowning. And so she taught me systems and processes. And that was sort of the start of systems and processes in our business. And now we have many. But that system actually still lives on today, and it's become our crystal calendar. And so I coach my clients to use this. I coach myself, remind myself to use this, and I coach team members. And so what I actually do is I look at my calendar. I look a few weeks out. Obviously, with kids, I can look far out because they have lots of repeatables, but I put myself in first.
Mm-hmm.
When you come from an empty cup, and in business and as a mom and as a wife, I mean, there's no more else to give. There's nothing to give to anybody. And so what I actually do is I decide what my self-care is going to be for the week or for the next few weeks, and that goes in first. Yeah. And so is that walks, is the gym is a non-negotiable. Lifting heavy weights is great for stress management.
Every morning.
Oh, yeah. And so that goes in, walks with friends, massages, sauna, whatever it is that I'm doing. I may be a slightly biohacker. So I have all these things that I schedule in carefully and intentionally, right? Not just living at the wellness center all day, but then I put my children and my family in after that, because I know if I take care of myself, I can show up for my family. And so then their things go in. So is that their sports, doctor's appointments, volunteering, all those pieces. And then I schedule the business around that. And so when I get my priorities straight and I can take care of myself first and I'm centered and calm, when my family is well taken care of, I can show up as my best self at work and I can deliver for my clients. And when I can come from a place of being centered, calm, focused, not overwhelmed, not stressed out, I'm so much more productive.
Yeah.
I'm so much more eloquent, right? And like meetings go better, sales calls are better, delegation is better. When, roadblocks come up, I can navigate through those. And so that basically taking what my mom taught me of like, this is the work that needs to happen and quantifying it still also happens. So booking my work in, even if it's just like emails, leaving time for fires every day. So I'm really careful with my time management. And I think that's how I build the business around my life, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned this the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did learn this the hard way. Yeah. And I realized it was only after the autism diagnosis where I started realizing that like my nervous system actually has real needs.
Yes.
And when I started prioritizing those needs, sort of very similar to what you're doing, what are the non-negotiables? I just realized how depleted I was and how I was actually showing up.
Yeah.
Versus how I could show up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did learn. I spent myself like currency as a way of sort of keeping things moving, and that's not the best way to do stuff.
No, yeah. And I mean, it hasn't been perfect for me over the years either. Like I have definitely overcommitted, faced burnout, faced a concussion, which then caused burnout.
Yeah.
So like I've had moments in my business too, where even though I had all these systems, stuff happens and it's sometimes out of your control. And the concussion was a huge wake up call because I was still really like working quite hard. And one of my detriments, one of my weaknesses was delegation. And that was in 2020. So I really had to learn how to delegate because I had no choice because my brain was not okay. So I've still had many lessons outside of that to remind me. And it's like to continue to push me to remember the things that I believe in, the systems that I have.
Yeah. Has there been a moment where the needs of the business or the business itself sort of pushed back against that principle? Like when something had to give? Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. And you know what? There's periods of hustle. There's seasons of hustle, I would say, where, and even this year, like we've had lots of stuff come up and I had to really commit to the business, extend my working hours. I have a really supportive spouse, so he was able to sort of pick up where I had to dig in. But then he also has seasons like that. And it's sort of the trend in our marriage where like he'll have really busy times where then I can support and vice versa. And so all the time. Yeah. There's moments where, but I think as an entrepreneur, what you need to remember is that you can't do that for 6 months or to a year straight. You know, if you need to have a sprint that's 6 weeks long where you just have to dive in and fix stuff and get the business in check or whatever it is, like we look forward, we do our financial projections like very far out for the whole year so that I'm able to diagnose and see things. And, you know, when you do that, you're able to see like, I've got to dig in. Sales has got to happen. So I need to make time in my calendar for that. And if there isn't, you've got to find space, right?
Yeah. I am, was listening to, do you know who Simon Sinek is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was listening because I've had, I think, 3 periods over the last 10 years where I experienced like acute burnout. It was 2 years ago where I actually passed out from stress.
Oh, no. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it was like what I'm saying. Like it's I learned it, I did learn it the hard way. So
Very acute. Yeah.
so anyways, I was listening to what he was talking. I was listening to a talk that he was giving about burnout and work-life balance, and he was retracting this idea of like maintaining a rigid work-life balance because what studies have shown that someone who works just 9 to 5 will burn out, and somebody that works evenings and weekends all the time will burn out. But the people that work some weekends and some evenings don't. And that's because there's passion in what they're doing. That they're choosing to work those moments because they want to. And so when we can work with passion or interest or curiosity, something that fills us while we do it, that helps, that gives us purpose. It's when we spend ourselves too much in a grind that we don't want that kills us. And when we restrict it too much so that the 8 hours a day has to hold too much, that's how we burn ourselves out. So giving myself permission as well to just allow myself to be curious, even if it is outside of regular business hours, because it's just something I want to do.
Yeah. Like sometimes you do want to wake up on a Sunday and just take a few hours and dig into something because it's quiet. Nobody's emailing you and there's no meetings. So you can be, I find I can be a lot more clear. There's clarity when there isn't all these other things happening. It's something I teach my clients too. So there's consulting and coaching that happens when you work with me just by proximity, truly. And I can't help it. It just happens. And so one of the things I love to teach them is the zone of genius exercise, like what drains you, what energizes you. And I actually give them a chart to map it out. And the stuff that lives in, I'm not good at it and it drains me, you've got to delegate that right away.
Yeah, someone else. Yeah, because you're not going to do it well anyways.
No, and you're going to be mad while you're doing it. And that anger of like, oh, I hate this. That's not healthy. And so if you're living in that like resistance all day long and then sticking yourself in this box of 9 to 5 too, right? Like that's just not a healthy place to be.
Yeah.
And so as a founder.
So far this year, I've just tore that down. I'm like, I'm just going to work whenever.
When I feel like
and it's actually significantly less stressful than trying to cram everything into this window. Because some days I'm like, I'm just going to go for a walk. I just don't have any meetings. I don't want to do what I'm doing. I'm just going to go for a walk. It's beautiful.
I saw this, I can't remember his name, but he was an influencer and he promoted the idea of play and promoted the idea of rewarding ourselves with play. And so I always go back to that like if I have a proposal to write that I'm like, okay, I've got to focus, like I've got to lock in and get this done, but I'm having like a hard time just getting it done that day, then I'll reward myself with something. Sometimes it's a blended matcha and peanut butter.
I love a treat. A sweet treat is my favorite reward.
Yes, sweet treats. My daughter taught me that, sweet treats.
Yeah.
And there's a cafe next door that I adore and spend far too much time at. And so I sit here thinking about their peanut butter balls. I'm like, hey, you do get this done, lock in, and then you get to go have your reward. Or like this guy, he would go skateboarding, he would go longboarding. And that was like his reward. And every day at 3:00, he would just like go and do something playful to activate different parts of your brain. And also just give yourself that break, that hit dopamine, right? That you need. Yeah.
Do you know what I've discovered? Is this the same thing? I've not heard somebody talk about this, but this was something I decided I was reintegrating into my life, was just fun for fun's sake.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I discovered Lime scooters.
Yeah.
right? And I live here in Kits, so I've got the seawall,
Mm-hmm.
and you can scoot from Granville Island to Stanley Park without
Right.
being on a road. And it's just all waterfront. It's like a racetrack.
Mm.
Like, it's so much fun. And like, I forgot how much having fun means. Like,
Yeah.
you get into this adulting space and you're like, fun's not for me anymore, but it's just not. Fun,
No,
we
it should
need
always be
fun.
a part of your life.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That
So
sounds
yeah, I
amazing.
align with that a ton. And I learned as well that there are times where I can't get my brain to do a task, and
Mm-hmm.
pushing through it actually costs me a lot.
Yeah. You end the day tired.
Yeah. So sometimes, like, if my brain just doesn't want to do something, I just have to say, that's not happening today. So, and
Yeah.
then I just have to switch gears. Sometimes I can come back to it. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I have to ask for help. That's another big one. It's like, I
Yes.
can't do this task today. It feels like 3 mountains. It's going
Yeah.
to take you 15 minutes. Could you help me out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for someone
Yeah.
else, it could just be the easiest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
You just have that mental block. Yeah. Sometimes when that happens too, I will drop it and I like to come back to things early. I'm an early riser. I wake up 6:30. Doesn't matter where
yeah.
I am in the world. Somehow my body knows it's 6 a.m. and it wakes up even when I travel.
Yeah. 5:45 is my wake up time.
So
Yeah.
crazy. And so I like to get up sometimes and attack those things first thing in the morning because it's like go home, have a nice night, rest, wake up. All of a sudden, it's just like easy, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about, we touched on it today, but we talked before about clients and like certain types of clients. Like we're in people management, people education, people support kind of business, right? And you've even mentioned there's a little bit of coaching in what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were talking about how when we're working on things we feel passionate about with people we're aligned with, the work is easy, but when that doesn't line up, it's not, and it costs the team a different way. How do you sort of help your team through times where the work's not that easy?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I think I'm never afraid to just roll up my sleeves and get in it with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're feeling stuck, they're feeling uninspired, or they've just been building a giant project that's taken months and months to put together, like I'm never afraid to just come in and work with them. And we're remote. So I mean, we're not sitting side by side and working on things, but we'll have a working session or, I'll help them solve for some things and I will come in and support where I can because sometimes that's all they need is they need to know that they have my support and they're not alone, right? Because when you work remotely and you're working on a project that's not as exciting, right? That can be draining for them. And so to know that like I've got them, I've got their back and I'll support them through that. I think that can be really helpful for them. I do a lot of coaching with my team as well. We have weekly touch points with every single employee as well. And so those calls can be really helpful and they're not directed to like, we're going to talk about work. We're going to talk about professional development. They're open calls of like, how are you doing? How are things going? And so that coaching support and that open communication too, and just that like my door's open and I'm here for you, I think also really helps them.
Yeah.
And then I think the other piece is that even if you're working on something that maybe doesn't feel aligned, how can we bring it back to alignment? How can we innovate if we're working on something that maybe feels kind of boring or sort of standard, or maybe the clients asked us to, we've actually had clients, I literally had a client say, this needs to be as boring as possible. We want to fly under the radar. Which is a hard ask, right? Because we always want things to be exceptional and stand out and sort of be that glitch in the market that people pay attention to because we're doing something so differently and presenting differently. And so I always try to coach the team of like, how can we think about this differently? How can we approach it differently than competitors? What inspiration can we look at from other industries? What can we bring in to just do this differently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I coach the team on, because this happens quite a lot, is that clients will come to us with a solution, not the problem, right? So then the team gets a little bit kind of frustrated because they're like, we don't want to do it that way, or what they do is they execute the requests and they end up in a place nobody wants to be, and then the client kind of blames us, which is fine. It's supposed to be our hands on the steering wheel. A lot of times, what I've always done and what I coach them to do is like, don't just execute a solution that's been handed to you.
Yeah.
Let's just ask what problem we're trying to solve. So I've received your solution. It would help me understand if we could look, what problem were we trying to solve?
Yeah.
What are we fixing? And it could be this, or it could be that, it could be this. And then you can have some dialogue around that and
Yeah.
arrive at something. So it's very
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
to not let the client take the wheel.
Mhm.
They're our trusty navigator. They don't actually know where we're going,
Yeah. They have a
right?
preconceived notion of like what they want, but you're like, is that really what you want? Is that going to be the most successful?
Well,
To
and they don't always know how to get there, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they'll take some wrong turns thinking they're going in the right direction, but that's not how it works. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I've always been the same as well, like not afraid to sort of hop in. What the lesson I've really had to learn, I was thinking about this while you said that, there's a difference between helping and rescuing.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I've had to learn is to slow down and not fix problems people haven't asked me to fix. So
Mhm.
just waiting for people to ask for the help
Yeah.
and provide support as needed until
Mhm.
I'm directly asked to come provide support. And a lot of times what that's become now is it doesn't always go past advice. So
Yeah.
they'll, instead of saying, can you go deal with this client problem, they'll be like, this has happened. Like, I think I may respond this way. Like, do you have any sort of insights? And so then I can actually do that. And that's actually been way more fulfilling than
Yeah.
jumping into rescue stuff, because the team builds some confidence, they build some skills. Like some of these things you can't learn without like being in the situation,
Yep.
feeling those feelings and working through that human stuff. Yeah, you have to experience it. So having
Yeah.
everybody's like soft skill muscles sort of like
Yep.
grow creates a much more independent team that doesn't
Absolutely.
need me as much, then makes it easier for me to build some space for me and my curiosities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I always like to say that like the business will only scale as high as your EQ. And so your emotional intelligence needs to grow because being an entrepreneur will uncover all of your limiting beliefs, fears, all of it. It just does. It has this way of exposing everything. And so when you can learn to move through those tough emotions and your EQ can grow, then your company will scale as well. But you also want to loop back and teach that to your team as well.
Uh-huh.
Because stress is real and stress happens and our deadlines are tight and there's always a lot coming at everyone. And so learning to manage that and move through those feelings and stop resisting them is what I teach the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever, particularly when I'm hiring, I find what I try to say is like, we're a busy shop. We run
Hmm.
lean, we're super efficient, we've got a lot of things going on, but like, I can't promise no stress. It's adult work.
Yeah.
There's a human element to it. Like sometimes things coalesce. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't like that whole work hard, play hard thing. I think that's a little bit disingenuous. It's just sort of
Yeah.
like sometimes you've got to, the work needs what it needs. And then the important part is there's flexibility for then you take that time back when
Yeah.
it's not like that, right? So there are some seasons to what we do. And so like to be successful here, I need adults. I need people willing to collaborate, talk about hard things, work on stuff. Like if you're the type of person that's going to like hit some conflict and turtle or disappear, like this is not the right place for you.
Yeah.
We work a different way. But like one thing that we talk a lot about is, I actually just did a video. I've recorded a video about this yesterday, like how to see signs when your team is scared of you. And like
Mm.
I've had to learn to like be very real about the fact is that I'm not as happy go lucky as I think I am, right? I can be a pretty intense person.
Yeah.
That's how I got here. And so seeing myself in my team members' eyes as that's the boss, that's the owner of the company, right? I have to remember um, that I have to put a little extra effort into creating space for safety
Yeah.
and openness, and not to expect too much out of it, especially not at first. So, times when you present an idea and ask for questions and it's just crickets, like that's not because my idea was great. It's because they're scared to be wrong in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Creating that
so,
permission, that culture of it's okay to bring ideas. It's safe to disagree with me. I want to hear your opinions, even if they're polar to mine. Um, yeah, it's something I'm always working with as well. And then when you hire new people as well, like trying teaching them that that's how it works here and it's okay to
yeah,
bring things up and we will always discuss everything and dig in because that's where innovation happens. And that's where,
yeah,
when we have an account and, like if we hit a roadblock with an account and we can sit down as a team and really take an hour to just like dig in to try to figure it out and they feel
yeah,
safe to talk about that with me, we're going to have a much better conducive meeting and not wasted time as well, right?
yeah,
For them. Um,
yeah.
how about that psychological safety for them is really important.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
particularly with these younger
Yeah.
generations. I'm on the bottom end of Gen X, so like it's a
Yeah.
different mindset at work, which I've had to unlearn because it's not a healthy one.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot actually from millennials and Gen Zs.
Yeah.
I think there are things that they understand much better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I've had to lean, and I've always really leaned into like what I call radical transparency. Like I will tell you my story. I
Yeah.
will share like what I'm thinking. I will give you insights into stuff. I didn't in the early days. I tried to keep everything happy-go-lucky, everything's fine, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So like I'm really clear, I'm really honest about like my neurodiversity, my nervous system needs, and like I also make it really clear like I want the friction. I want the pushback. I don't want you guys to all agree with me.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart. I'm not right all the time.
Yeah.
I want to hear your ideas, but I can't control my face. I don't know what it's doing. So
Same.
like I'm just you're gonna take this at face value.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mad. It's not frustration. It's me pivoting. It's me processing. It's me thinking through it. And when that happens,
Yeah.
I can't control what my face is doing. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm an open book. My face has every expression. And always. Yeah. I feel you.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think I love what you said about like the generations teaching us something. And I think that's something we need to stay open to. Like I'm top end of millennial. And so I think that it always happens. There's this knowledge transfer and youth see things differently and
yeah,
they approach things with playfulness and curiosity just by nature of being young, right?
yeah,
And so when we're open to that as leaders and listening to that, I think it's really important. And that's where a company can really flourish
yeah,
when they're okay with youth coming in and shaking things up, having ideas. And I mean, not every idea is going to land, not everyone will work, but it's also what I love about being creative and being like the creative work as well,
yeah,
because that's actually the nature of the work is that we have to continue to innovate. Those fresh ideas need to happen here. But even with
yeah,
strategy and marketing strategy as well, like strategies grow stale, audiences grow sophisticated, they get
yeah.
smarter and smarter. And the tactics that worked before, they don't perform
Can
anymore.
never stop learning. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so as the, buying behavior and the psychographics of your audiences change, you have to stay in front of that. And I believe that listening to youth because they'll see things differently is how you can do that, right? As well as learning from our predecessors as well. And there's lots of knowledge you can learn and experts as well. So I think it's being open to all of it, right?
yeah.
And then
I
finding
think
your path.
one of the things I really respect about the younger generations, like for me, like I'm very, very interested in how we function, like why we do things, like how our brains work, how we process things. And I've talked a lot about like human needs in your private life are the same things you need at work. They're not different things. And so like this workplace culture that we've all inherited, this
Yeah.
corporate good worker bee situation, which is rooted in colonialism, capitalism, white supremacy, patriarchy, like all
Yeah.
the stuff. Like
Yeah.
being honest about what that thing is in this contract that it's based on, that it will extract as much from its workers as it can
Uh-huh.
and give you as little as it can. And we're going to thank you for the livelihood that creates for us.
Yeah.
That social contract, this younger generation is like, but why? Why would
Why?
I do that?
Why do
Why?
you
That's
get
not enough.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Like I could just like not do that.
Mm-hmm. They're
And
opting out.
when I started reading that, I was just like, huh, I can just not do that.
Yeah.
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 So I think it's I just shows a real strength. And I think I talk about this all the time. I'd love for the boomers just to sit down. Us Gen Xers will just get skipped over. I think it's time. Just let the millennials run the show for a bit. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
our
I
turn.
think the boomers need to sit down for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think something I've always given my team is a great deal of autonomy and freedom because we've always been remote before people
Yep.
understood remote. So when we were remote pre-COVID, they did not understand. And it was
We
actually,
did it too, 2019.
yeah, it was hard for our brand. And then COVID not a great time, but the one blessing that came out of COVID was people understood remote work. And all of a sudden, our agency really started to flourish after that. And so I always knew that creatives are unique and our brains work differently and they need freedom and they need flexibility. And like I had this one team member who she loves to have naps in the afternoon and then likes to stay up and just like dig in and until like 3 a.m. and was really
Yeah.
hard on herself about that because she was like, like I'm not online when I should be. And like I'm missing Slack messages. And I just said, it's okay if you want to do that. If you want to wake up in the morning, and as long as you don't miss a client meeting, as long as you don't miss a deadline, as long as the work is happening and it's high quality, have a nap at 3 p.m. and then work until 2 a.m. if you want to. That's totally okay. If that's your like hour of genius, when all the great ideas come out, then embrace it and don't judge yourself for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I coach all of my team members to work that way. As long as we're present during some active hours, we're checking in on Slack and we're present for our clients, then the flexibility is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a really high density of neurodiverse and neurodiverse people on the team, as well as like different life experiences, myself included. And that's been a big change. That was a big thing for us as well, particularly when we went remote and flexibility became possible.
Yeah.
Like this idea of like 9 to 5 schedule, that's an inherited paradigm. So yeah, really encouraging people to work on things at times where they're most productive only makes your business better, right? They're more aligned, they're happier, they're more productive, things are more efficient. Doing creative work at a time where you don't feel creative, the output suffers. The business is not better for it. So a lot of these workplace systems are built around this idea of a default human that just has never existed. Human variance is a design condition. It's not an exception.
Yeah. You just accept that everybody's unique and everyone has unique needs, and then coach them to succeed and excel in a way that works for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just make a stronger business that way, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you want people who are earlier in this journey to hear, especially women who are trying to figure out whether they can actually build something without losing themselves in it? Like, what would you tell them?
Drop the guilt. Drop it all. You're judging yourself. You're being hard on yourself, and it's just not necessary. It is okay to be a mom and want things. It is okay to want success, but also want to be there for your kids. It's okay to set that boundary that I'm done at 3. I go pick up my kids. I feed them dinner. I take them to soccer. All of that is totally fine to want those things. It's okay to want balance. It's okay to want success. And the sooner you stop feeling bad about it and the sooner you stop judging yourself for it, the sooner you can just move into your power and you can move into your success and truly believe in yourself. Because if you're constantly hard on yourself, what are you telling yourself subconsciously? I don't deserve this. I shouldn't have this. And then you are subconsciously going to take the steps to self-sabotage. Yeah. So as soon as you start to embrace the fact that I deserve this, I can do this, I'm confident, I'm strong, I'm going to be a great mom, and I will figure out how to balance this, and I will create systems for myself and set boundaries and hold those boundaries, is the sooner you can start moving towards that dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really well said. My version of that, because we have such negative self-talk.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I wouldn't talk this way to my child, why am I talking to myself that way? I call it self-parenting. It's actually been a huge part of my healing journey over the last bunch of years. Because the reasons I started a business were not the reasons I have for carrying it forward.
Yeah.
And I do, like, just listening to you talk about that, like I know a lot of women that carry the same guilt and the same pressures. And it's like, you're wonderful moms. You would never say 95% of this stuff to your kids, right? We're always pumping them up. Like, you can do it. Like, do the same for yourself. You're just as worthy as they are.
Yeah. I had a mentor tell me once, and it always sticks with me. If a child fell down in the street and scraped their knee and started crying, what would you do? You would go over there and you would tell them, it's okay. Are you all right? Are you hurt? Can I help you? If it's your child, you'd probably pick them up and soothe them. But when you fall down and you hurt yourself, metaphorically or physically, how are you talking to yourself? What are you saying? It's okay. You're all right. You can handle this. Are you self-soothing or are you beating the shit out of yourself? You'll have to bleep that. And so when I remember that and I take that forward with myself and try to stop judging myself so harshly. And when I learned that, that was actually one of the keys to being able to really scale and grow the company.
Yep. The same experience. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Beyond the Build. Thanks to Ashleigh Baron from Freshly Pressed for this conversation. It reminded me that you can build something real without losing yourself in it. Ashleigh, thank you so much for today's conversation.
Thanks for having me, Shawn. It's been great.
If you're building an agency right now and you're wondering whether it's possible to do it without sacrificing everything else, I hope Ashleigh's story is a useful data point. 17 years, a basement, a baby, a non-negotiable, and a business that's still standing. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.